All right, conference championship week is upon us. Moving to the SEC, LSU traveling to Atlanta, basically a semi-home game for the Georgia Bulldogs. Seeing them as a 17.5-point favorite in this spot. Total was actually crept up a little bit. I saw it at 51, 51 and a half, all the way up to that key number at 52. And since I've started recording, seeing some 52 and a halves as well. I'm not focusing on that side of the matchup. This is very simple for me. Give me the Bulldogs. I'm laying the 17 and a half with Georgia as an official one-unit play in this spot. This is not in any way reactionary to what we saw from LSU last week and what was a total letdown at Texas A&M. We were on that. We were on the Aggies plus the 10. I've hated LSU all year. If you've watched any LSU-related content on this channel, you would know that. We faded them when they played Tennessee, easy winner. We faded them when they played at Auburn, easy winner. We faded them when they played at Arkansas. Not an easy winner, a winner nonetheless. And like I said, we faded them last week against Texas A&M. They've played well at home in Tiger Stadium, and really a lot of those flaws have been very apparent when they aren't at home. It all starts on the offensive line. This unit has allowed 4 more sacks on 6 separate occasions this year. So half of their games, they've been an absolute liability up front. That's had a big impact on Jaden Daniels in the passing game. I mean, he's under 7.5 yards per attempt this year. I know he's taking care of the football well. I know he's a huge threat with his legs too. But, if you didn't watch that game last week, he went out of that A&M game with an injury. He's been wearing a boot all throughout the week. I think he's going to play, but I think he's going to be playing it a lot less than 100%. So I don't think he's going to be a huge factor with his legs in this game. Let's say he does play. Let's say he is healthy. Just remember what Georgia did to Hendon Hooker and that far more explosive Tennessee offense a few weeks ago. This is the best defense in college football. It's that simple. Elite secondary. We know they're stout against the run. And in this particular matchup, pass rushing is not really a staple of what Georgia does defensively, but they're going to absolutely eat up front against a below average LSU offensive line. Where's the path to points here? Fluky explosive plays. I don't really see that happening against this secondary. I'll give LSU credit in one area. Their running backs definitely overperformed their talent level this year. Is that really going to show in this matchup against this run defense that Georgia has? No. I think there's a good possibility that LSU has their worst offensive showing of the season in this matchup. I don't really see one edge for them, quite frankly. On the other side, I think there's this narrative that, Georgia's offense is not very good. Defense first team. They are a defense first team, but this is a team that's top 5 in the country in yards per play. So I don't take that lightly. I think Stetson Bennett is actually an underrated player. He's had a lot more put on his plate this year. Last year, they were much more of a run-focused, run-heavy team. I think Stetson Bennett's played pretty well outside of a few bad moments this year, but this LSU secondary hasn't been exactly great this year. It's probably the weakness of that defense. Even teams like Auburn were able to create explosive plays through the air on this defense. Connor Weigman didn't have much trouble for A&M last week. I'm not saying it's a bad unit, but it's not really the prototypical LSU secondary that you might be used to. I think LSU, if they were to step up in this matchup, would probably be against the run. I don't think Georgia's has elite running backs. I still think they're quite good. Really, it all ties back to the trenches once again. Georgia's got an elite offensive line, really outside of that kind of one-off fluky performance against Arkansas where Harold Perkins went off. I wouldn't call LSU's pass rushing unit great. Their strength defensively is going up against the run. Maybe they have some success in that category, but like I said, Georgia's really started to put more on Stetson Bennett's plate. I think this is a particular matchup where he does step up well. 17.5 is too low. This line should absolutely start with a 2. I don't really understand why it doesn't. I see this as a 38-13 kind of game. So I do think the total is about right. I personally can't relate to people who have any concern about Georgia. I don't care what they do against Missouri or Kent State. I know they didn't get off to the hottest start against Georgia Tech last week. What did they do when they played Oregon? They won 49-3. What they do when they played Tennessee? They dominated that game far more than the score would show. I think Georgia comes out and absolutely pummels LSU. I've hated this LSU team all year. Give Brian Kelly credit because this team should not be here according to the talent level they have on that roster. It's been a really good coaching job. Lay the points with Georgia. Bulldogs minus 17.5 is an official one-unit play for me.